The hum of machinery filled the high-tech laboratory of the Celestial Research Institute, a symphony of beeping monitors and whirring devices that resonated in my ears as I stood before my team, heart racing with anticipation and a hint of anxiety. I was Dr. Emily Carter, an astrophysicist who had dedicated her life to unraveling the mysteries of the universe, and today was a turning point in our quest for knowledge. The disappearance of the Andromeda Galaxy from the night sky was not just a scientific anomaly. It was a cosmic enigma that demanded our immediate attention. "We're not just looking for answers," I began, my voice steady yet resolute. "We are venturing into the unknown, and it's our duty to find out what happened to Andromeda." I glanced around the room, meeting the eyes of my colleagues, each one a unique piece of this intricate puzzle. Dr. Marcus Lee, with his trademark skepticism, leaned back in his chair, arms crossed over his chest. "And how exactly do you propose we investigate a galaxy that has vanished? We're talking about distances and phenomena beyond our comprehension. It could be a cosmic joke for all we know." I felt a flash of irritation at his dismissal of our mission, but maintained my composure. "Marcus, this isn't a joke. We have the technology and the expertise to explore the last known coordinates of Andromeda. We owe it to the scientific community, and to ourselves, to pursue this." Tara Hughes, our ambitious astronomer, chimed in, her brow furrowed with concern. "But what if we encounter something we can't handle? This isn't just a matter of pointing a telescope at the stars. We're talking about venturing into uncharted territory. What if we don't come back?" I could sense the tension rising in the room, a palpable mix of fear and excitement. "That's a risk we all take as scientists, Tara. Discovery often requires us to face the unknown." I turned to Jack Reynolds, our enigmatic engineer, hoping his usual charm could lighten the mood. "Come on, Tara. Think of it as an adventure," Jack said with a playful grin. "We'll be like astronauts from the movies, flying through the cosmos, unraveling mysteries. What's not to love about that?" But Tara's face remained serious. "It's not that simple, Jack. This isn't a movie. Lives are at stake here, and we could be facing something far more complicated than we anticipate." I nodded, recognizing her concern. "I appreciate your caution, Tara. But we have a responsibility to pursue this investigation. The universe has secrets it wants to share, and we are the ones chosen to uncover them." As we wrapped up our discussion, the energy in the room shifted from uncertainty to determination. We were a team, and we would face whatever lay ahead together. Hours later, we stood in the launch bay, preparing for our journey aboard the spacecraft Odyssey. The sleek silver hull of the ship gleamed under the harsh fluorescent lights, a symbol of human ingenuity and ambition. I felt a mix of excitement and trepidation as I suited up, the weight of my responsibilities pressing down on my shoulders. "Ready for takeoff?" Jack asked, adjusting his helmet with a grin. "I've got snacks for the journey. No space adventure is complete without some good food, right?" I chuckled, grateful for his attempts to ease the tension. "As long as you're not stockpiling instant noodles again, I think we'll survive." "Hey, those were a hit last time," he protested, his eyes sparkling with mischief. But as we boarded the ship, Tara's apprehension seeped back into the atmosphere. "I just hope we're making the right choice," she murmured, glancing at the control panels. "What if we find something terrible?" The thought hung in the air, heavy and ominous, as we strapped ourselves into our seats. I glanced at Marcus, who was staring intently at the screens, his skepticism replaced by a flicker of curiosity. "Whatever we find, we face it together," I assured her, hoping to instill some confidence in my team. As the engines roared to life and the ship began to rise, I felt a surge of adrenaline. We were no longer grounded, but rather ascending into the vast unknown. The Earth fell away beneath us, and soon we would be traversing the very fabric of space itself. But as we entered deep space, an unsettling silence enveloped the ship. The stars outside twinkled like distant memories, and my mind raced with questions. What lay ahead? What secrets would we uncover? Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the ship shuddered. My heart raced as darkness enveloped us, a power failure plunging us into an abyss of uncertainty. "What's happening?" I shouted, gripping my console as alarms blared around us. "Power's failing." Jack yelled, scrambling to assess the situation. "We need to restore it before we lose everything." Panic surged through me, but deep down, I knew this was only the beginning of our journey. Whatever awaited us in the void, we would face it together, united in our quest for truth. The dim interior of the Odyssey was punctuated by the flickering lights of the control panels, the only sounds being the hum of the ship systems and the occasional beep of alarms. I could feel the tension in the air as we scrambled to restore power. Jack and I were stationed at the main console, surrounded by a chaotic array of wires and instruments. "Can you get that power relay back online?" I asked, my voice steady despite the rising panic within me. I could see Jack's brow furrowed in concentration as he fiddled with the control panel. "I'm trying, but it's like the whole system is fighting me." He grunted, sweat beading on his forehead. I could sense his frustration mounting. "Just keep at it. We need to get back online before we drift too far off course." My eyes darted to the display showing our trajectory, the last known coordinates of the Andromeda Galaxy flickering ominously. "Hold on," Jack said, his voice suddenly brightening. "I think I've got it." With a swift motion, he pressed a series of buttons, and I held my breath as I watched the power levels fluctuate. A moment later, the lights flickered back on, bathing the control room in a soft glow. "Great job, Jack," I exclaimed, relief washing over me. I quickly turned my attention back to the navigation screen. "We're still on course, but we need to analyze what just happened. There has to be a reason for that power failure." Tara entered the room, her expression a mixture of relief and urgency. "What did we miss? Did the systems just glitch, or is there something more going on?" "Something definitely feels off," I replied, my voice tinged with uncertainty. "We need to analyze the data from when the power went out. Jack, can you pull the last few minutes of telemetry?" "On it," he said, his fingers flying over the keyboard. As I watched him work, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on the brink of something far more significant than we could comprehend. Once the telemetry data was extracted, I began scanning through the readings. "This doesn't make sense," I muttered under my breath. "The gravitational fluctuations are inconsistent. It's like something is warping space around us." Marcus entered, arms crossed, his skepticism palpable. "So what? We're in deep space. Things are bound to get weird. Don't you think we're overanalyzing?" I shot him an exasperated look. "This isn't just weird, Marcus. It's unprecedented. We're right on the edge of the last known coordinates of Andromeda, and I can't shake the feeling that whatever happened to that galaxy is connected to this anomaly." Tara leaned in closer to the screen, her curiosity piqued. "What if it's not just gravitational? What if it's something else entirely? Maybe a different kind of force is at play here." "Like what?" Marcus scoffed, clearly unconvinced. "Maybe it's a dimensional rift or a distortion in space-time," I suggested, feeling a rush of excitement. "If we could gather more data, we might be able to identify what we're dealing with." "All right, but let's not lose sight of the fact that we're still flying blind," Marcus retorted, his voice dripping with disbelief. "You're chasing shadows." Ignoring his cynicism, I turned my attention to the readings. "We need to investigate further. There are strange signals coming from the void where Andromeda used to be. They could be a clue." Tara nodded, her eyes sparkling with determination. "I agree. The sooner we analyze those signals, the better. We need to understand what we're up against." As I prepared to calibrate the ship's sensors for a deeper investigation, the ship suddenly shuddered, sending a jolt through my body. My heart raced as I exchanged worried glances with my crewmates. "What was that?" Jack asked, gripping the console. "Brace yourselves," I shouted, my voice rising above the alarms blaring. The ship lurched violently, and I felt my stomach drop. "Systems are stable," Jack said, his voice shaky but focused. "But we're detecting something moving toward us from the void." My breath caught in my throat. "What do you mean, moving toward us?" "Something's coming," he replied, his gaze locked on the screen. I could see a blip on the radar, a shape emerging from the darkness. "Prepare for anything," I commanded, adrenaline surging through me. "We need to be ready for whatever this is." The screen flickered, revealing the mysterious object as it drew closer. My heart raced with anticipation and dread. Whatever was waiting for us in that void, it was about to change everything. As I stood in the control room of the Odyssey, my heart raced at the sight of the colossal energy sphere looming before us. Its iridescent surface pulsed with a rhythm that felt almost alive, casting ethereal colors against the sterile metal of our ship. I glanced at my team, their faces a mixture of awe and apprehension. "Emily, what do we do?" Terra's voice trembled slightly, breaking the tense silence. I could sense her fear, but beneath it lay an undeniable curiosity. I believe this sphere may hold the key to understanding what happened to Andromeda, I replied, forcing confidence into my tone. We need to engage and attempt to communicate with it. It could be our only chance to learn the truth. Jack, ever the optimist, stepped forward with a half-smile. All right, let's do this. What's the worst that could happen? We get sucked into a cosmic whirlpool. His attempt at humor lightened the mood, but I could see the worry behind his bright eyes. Keep your focus, Jack, Marcus interjected, his voice laced with skepticism. This could be a trap. We have no idea what we're dealing with. Or it could be a major breakthrough. I countered, determined to keep the momentum. Let's set up the communication protocols. Terra, can you work on translating the signals? Jack, coordinate the power levels for the engagement. As they moved to their stations, I took a moment to center myself. The weight of our mission pressed heavily on my shoulders. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on the brink of something monumental, something that could alter our understanding of the universe. The ship hummed with activity as we initiated contact. I watched the energy sphere closely. Suddenly, it began to shift and swirl, and before our eyes, a holographic image materialized from its core. The figure was ethereal, radiating a soft glow that illuminated the control room. It resembled a humanoid but was composed of shimmering light and energy, its features indistinct yet oddly familiar. Greetings, travelers of the stars, the being spoke, its voice resonating through the ship like a distant echo. I am the guardian of the universe. Guardian. I whispered, my heart racing. You know what happened to the Andromeda Galaxy? Yes, it replied, its gaze piercing through me. The galaxy was removed to shield it from a cosmic threat that seeks to consume all that is. A chill ran down my spine. What kind of threat? It is a force that feeds on despair, doubt, and chaos, one that has been growing in power, threatening the very fabric of existence. To protect the Andromeda Galaxy, I had to act. I exchanged glances with my team, their expressions a mixture of disbelief and concern. Why are you showing this to us? Marcus asked, his tone skeptical yet intrigued. What do you want from us? The Guardian's form flickered momentarily, almost as if it was considering its response. You have a choice, it said slowly. You may return to your world with knowledge of what lies beyond, or you may join me in the fight against this impending doom. Your understanding of the universe can aid in the battle. What if we refuse? Terra asked, her voice steady despite the situation's gravity. Then the darkness will continue to spread, the Guardian said, its tone grave. And you will return to a universe that may no longer exist in the form you know. I felt the weight of the decision pressing down on us. The options lay before us like two diverging paths, each fraught with uncertainty. Guys, we came here to seek answers, to find out what happened to Andromeda, I said, trying to rally my team. This is our chance to make a difference. We've seen the anomalies. We know something is out there. Marcus shook his head, frustration etched on his face. But what do we really know? We're scientists. We should be studying this, not throwing ourselves into a battle we're not prepared for. But what if we can prevent something catastrophic? Jack chimed in, his enthusiasm bubbling over. This could be our shot to protect not just Andromeda, but countless other galaxies too. I looked at each of my team members, sensing the divide between them. The tension in the room was palpable, and I knew we had to reach a consensus. We need to decide, and we need to decide now, I urged, my voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotion swirling within me. What will it be? As the silence stretched on, I could feel the weight of the universe pressing upon us, urging us toward a choice that would echo through the stars. The atmosphere inside the training chamber was thick with anticipation and a hint of anxiety. I stood shoulder to shoulder with my team, facing the luminous figure of the Guardian, whose presence commanded respect and curiosity. Today, it began, its voice resonating with a cosmic echo. You will learn to harness the forces that govern existence. The balance of the universe is delicate, and you must understand it if you are to protect it. As we commenced our training, I felt a surge of excitement coursing through me. I had always been drawn to the mysteries of the cosmos, and now I was on the precipice of unraveling some of its deepest secrets. The Guardian guided us through simulations that illustrated the interplay of gravitational pulls, energy fields, and the fabric of space-time. I could feel the thrill of discovery sparking in my veins with every new concept I grasped. "Emily, you're a natural," Jack said, flashing me an encouraging smile as I deftly manipulated a holographic model of a collapsing star. "You're practically dancing with the data." "Thanks, Jack," I replied, but my focus was on the swirling images before me. I felt like I was finally tapping into something much larger than myself. However, the same could not be said for Marcus. I glanced over at him, watching as he struggled with a particularly abstract concept. His brow was furrowed, and frustration flashed across his features. "This is all nonsense," he muttered under his breath, arms crossed tightly against his chest. "How can we possibly believe any of this? It's all theory." "Marcus," Tara interjected gently, "it's not just theory. We've seen what's out there. We need to embrace this if we want to make a difference." His eyes narrowed as he shot back. "Embracing delusion won't save us from whatever is out there. We need to keep our feet on the ground." "Sometimes, the ground isn't where the answers lie," I countered, my voice stronger than I felt. "We're at the edge of understanding something monumental. We can't allow fear to cloud our judgment." The Guardian watched this exchange with an inscrutable expression. "Fear is a powerful force," it said, breaking the tension. "But it can also be a gateway to deeper understanding. You must confront it, not run from it." As the training progressed, we found ourselves thrust into a simulation that transported us to an alternate reality, a shimmering expanse where the Andromeda Galaxy still thrived, vibrant and alive with twinkling stars. I stood awestruck, gazing at the swirling colors and the intricate dance of celestial bodies. It was beautiful, but the sight was tinged with a sense of foreboding. "Look at that," Tara breathed, her eyes wide. "It's breathtaking. We have to protect this." "Yes," I agreed, feeling a swell of determination. "This is what we're fighting for." But Marcus's skepticism lingered in the air, heavy and unwelcome. What if it's all an illusion? What if we're chasing a fantasy? I stepped closer to him, my voice steady. "It's not a fantasy, Marcus. It's a possibility. A reality we could help preserve if we confront the threat that looms over it." The Guardian's voice broke through our moment of introspection. "The threat you must face is more tangible than you realize. A malevolent force that consumes galaxies, one by one. You have seen the beauty of what you are protecting. Now you must understand the danger that seeks to unravel it." The weight of those words settled over us like a shroud. I could see Marcus's mind racing, his internal struggle laid bare. "How do we prepare for something like that?" he asked, his voice quieter now, tinged with genuine concern. "Knowledge is your greatest weapon," the Guardian replied. "And unity is your strongest shield. Together, you can confront this force. But first, you must learn to synchronize your minds and hearts." As we continued our training, a sense of urgency enveloped me. The stakes were higher than I had ever imagined. With every session, I could feel our bond strengthening, but Marcus remained a loose thread, his doubts creeping in like shadows. I knew we had to confront those doubts before we could face the looming threat. Just when I thought we were ready to delve deeper, a sudden blaring alarm shattered the atmosphere. The Guardian's holographic form flickered. "A distress signal," it announced, urgency lacing its tone. "Another galaxy is under attack." My heart raced as I exchanged glances with my team. This was it, the moment we had been preparing for. Yet, I could see the flicker of fear in Marcus's eyes, and I wondered if he would hold on to his doubts as we faced the true test of our resolve. The distress signal echoed in the Odyssey's control room, a haunting call for help that sent shivers down my spine. "We're receiving a signal from the Zeta Galaxy," I announced, my voice barely masking the urgency within. I glanced at Jack, who was already firing up the navigation systems, his fingers flying over the console. Tara's eyes were wide, her brow furrowed in concern, while Marcus sat in his seat, a skeptical expression etched on his face. "Can we trust this signal?" Marcus asked, crossing his arms defensively. It could be a trap, a distraction, or worse, a lure for the malevolent force. I felt a surge of frustration. "We can't ignore it, Marcus. People are in danger. We have to go." My heart raced as I thought of the countless stars flickering out, the families, the lives that could be lost. "Emily's right," Tara interjected, her voice steady but laced with apprehension. "We've trained for this. If we can help, we must. We owe it to those who might be suffering." "Fine," Marcus relented, albeit grudgingly. But I still think this is a bad idea. As the Odyssey propelled through space-time distortions, the view screen displayed chaotic scenes from Zeta Galaxy. Stars flickered like dying candles, and dark tendrils emerged from the void, consuming everything in their path. "This is worse than I imagined," I whispered, my stomach churning at the sight of destruction. "We need to act fast," Jack urged, flipping switches and adjusting controls. "Terra, you're up. What do you suggest?" Terra's mind was already racing. If we can harness the energy from the sphere, we might be able to create a defensive barrier around the remaining stars while we figure out how to confront the void. She paused, glancing at Marcus. "We need your expertise, too. You understand the physics of these cosmic forces better than any of us." Marcus seemed torn, his hesitation palpable. He started, but then the ship lurched violently, jolting us all in our seats. "Hold on," Jack shouted, gripping the controls tightly. "I'm trying to stabilize us." "Emily, give me a status report." Terra called, her voice rising above the chaos. "Shields are holding, but we're losing power in the aft section." I replied, my fingers dancing over the console as I worked to reroute energy. Fear gnawed at me, but I pushed it aside, focusing on the task at hand. If we don't restore power soon, we'll be sitting ducks. With a deep breath, I turned to the team. "All right, we implement Terra's plan. Jack, keep us steady. Marcus, I need you to help me recalibrate the energy sphere's output. We can't let this void consume more stars." As we scrambled to execute the plan, the void loomed larger on the view screen, a gaping maw threatening to swallow everything. "Ready!" I shouted as we activated the energy sphere, a shimmering orb pulsating with cosmic energy. Just then, I noticed Marcus's expression shift. A flicker of panic crossed his face, and I felt a wave of unease ripple through the room. "Marcus, what's wrong?" I asked, but he didn't respond. "Now!" Terra yelled, her voice cutting through the tension. We pressed the controls, channeling the energy toward the void. Suddenly, Marcus shot up from his seat, eyes wide with terror. "We can't do this. It's too dangerous," he shouted, his voice trembling. In an impulsive move, he lunged for the control panel, his hands darting to disable the systems. "Marcus, no!" I screamed, but it was too late. Alarms blared as the ship's systems began to fail, plunging us into chaos. The energy flow sputtered, and the void surged forward, its dark tendrils reaching out hungrily. "Why would you do that?" Jack yelled, struggling to regain control as the ship spiraled into the gravitational pull of the void. I couldn't let it take us." Marcus stammered, his face pale with fear, but the damage was done, and the ship lurched violently. I grasped the console tightly, my heart racing. "We need to fix this. Now." The walls of the ship rattled as we were pulled closer to the abyss, the darkness swallowing the light around us. In that moment, everything I believed in, the training, the science, the unity we had forged, seemed to hang in the balance. We were spiraling toward the void, and it felt like there was no way out. The air was thick with despair, and I could only hope that somehow, we would find a way to escape this cosmic nightmare before it was too late. As the Odyssey spiraled into the void, the alarms blared around us, drowning out the chaos in my mind. The gravitational pull threatened to tear the ship apart, but I refused to give in to panic. I could feel the weight of my team's fear pressing down on us, but I had to be the anchor. "Everyone, listen to me. We've trained for this. We know what to do." I shouted, my voice firm and unwavering. Jack was at the helm, wrestling with the controls as the ship bucked violently. "Emily, I can't stabilize it. The systems are going haywire." His brow was furrowed in concentration, sweat glistening on his forehead. "Focus on the thrust. Increase it to counteract the pull." I commanded, my heart racing. Terra was already working to reroute power from non-essential systems to the engines. "I'm on it," she called back, her fingers flying across the console. "Just give me a second." Around us, I could hear Marcus breathing heavily, his anxiety palpable. "What if we don't make it?" he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. I turned to him, seeing the doubt etched on his face. "We will make it, Marcus. Together." I insisted, though a pang of uncertainty gripped my stomach. I couldn't let my own fears seep into my words. "We have to trust in each other." Trust in what we've learned. The ship rattled violently, and I could feel the void's insatiable hunger trying to pull us in deeper. Jack, keep us steady, I urged, gripping the edge of my seat. Tara, how's that power reroute? Almost there. Just a few more seconds, she replied, her determination shining through the fear. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the control panel, and I felt the ship jerk violently. What was that? Jack shouted, panic creeping into his voice. Just hold on. We can't let it take us. I yelled, feeling the tension in the air grow thicker. As I glanced at Marcus, I saw something shift in his expression. The fear that had been consuming him transformed into realization. Emily, his voice trembled, and I could see the internal battle raging within him. Marcus, focus, I urged, but he shook his head, stepping back from his station. No, you don't understand. It's me. I've been connected to it all along. It's feeding on my doubts. His eyes widened with terror, yet a flicker of resolve emerged beneath it. I can feel it, Emily. It's been whispering to me, amplifying my fears. Marcus, don't say that. You can fight it. We all can. I pleaded, but he was already shaking his head, tears brimming in his eyes. It's too late for me. I can sever the connection. I can. He took a deep breath, and for a moment, he looked like the man I had known before this nightmare began. You have to trust me. You have to let me do this. Marcus, no. Don't be ridiculous. I shouted, panic rising within me. But he stepped away from the control panel, determination etched on his features. You have to believe in yourselves and in each other. That's how you'll defeat it. Before I could react, he moved toward the core of the ship. Marcus. I cried out, my heart racing as I lunged forward. It's the only way, he shouted back, and in that moment, I realized he was right. He had been carrying the burden of fear, and now he was willing to sacrifice himself to save us all. With one last desperate look, he reached the central control and initiated a sequence I couldn't comprehend. A surge of power erupted, a brilliant cascade of energy that illuminated the ship. Go. Now, he yelled, and I felt the pull of the void lessen, the gravitational grip weakening. The energy wave expanded, enveloping him, and I watched as he became one with the light, severing the dark connection that had plagued him. The ship stabilized, and the void began to recede. The stars returned, twinkling in the vastness of space, as if they had never been gone. I gasped, tears streaming down my cheeks. He did it, I whispered in awe, overwhelmed by the sacrifice he had made. Jack and Tara looked at me, their faces a mix of disbelief and reverence. We're free, Jack breathed, unable to fully comprehend what had just occurred. As we drifted among the restored stars, I felt an overwhelming sense of unity wash over us. The power of our belief in each other had triumphed against the darkness. We were forever changed, bound by experience and loss. We turned our gazes toward the night sky, the galaxy restored, and I realized that true strength lay not in individual courage but in our collective resolve. In that moment, I understood the vastness of our potential and the beauty of the universe we were sworn to protect.